I'm slightly gate crashing Tom's talk here. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Auspicious to start off. So I have a background in video production. I co-founded a production company called Casual Films and built that up and grew it over 15 years. I exited a few years ago. And, oh, hi Norma. And yes, so Auspicious is my new venture with a new business partner, Rachel Pendred, who set up and ran an agency called Media Zoo. We were competitors for a long time. We've now joined forces, and we are doing a kind of roll-up of different agencies. So in the last year, we've bought four agencies, and we've got a fifth, which is a startup. There's some lovely logos, so I can talk you through what those are, which will be coming up on the screen quite shortly. Yeah, so we have in the US a documentary and branded content production company called Blue Chalk. We have a commercials production company in the UK. We then bought a digital agency in Manchester at the beginning of this year, and they build kind of primarily bespoke platforms for enterprise clients, mainly in the learning and development space. Then we also have a kind of corporate PR division. And the most recent company to join the group was Nowadays. Yeah, I've known Thom and his business partner Guy for about 20 years. We went to university together. We've been friends since then. So it's lovely to have them joining. And Thom's here to tell you a little bit about AI. So, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a...
Thank you, Barnaby.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the managing director of Nowadays. We're a production company. We specialise in, or we like to think we specialise in creating beautifully crafted brand content and commercials powered by emotional intelligence. Some of our clients are the NSPCC, Samaritans, Schroders, HSBC, lots of charities in there, Dementia UK. And yeah, as of September, joined our friends at Auspicious, which has been very exciting. Let's not beat about the bush. Even I was like, Barnaby, why are we doing another talk about AI? And he pointed out that it's something that we are still talking about all the time within the group. And I'm not talking about what's the latest trick that we can do in a Nano Banana or Midjourney, but more in a what's a director anymore and who should we be hiring when we look into the next couple of years. We might be fatigued by it, but the clients are still asking about it all the time, so we need to keep talking about it as an industry, especially while it's in flux. Otherwise, there's a good chance we're not going to make sense as businesses as the landscape continues to evolve. Big caveat at the start, believe it or not, neither Barnaby or I, bear in mind I can't work my own laptop, are experts in AI, and we're not even the filmmakers who are sat there working on the prompts day in, day out. But what we are is people who've been running businesses. I've been running Nowadays for nearly 20 years, and I really care about it, and I care about the clients we want to work with and the teams that we're responsible for. So today we're going to look a bit more about it from an organisational point of view. And for me, it's really interesting. When half of our clients are, you know, charities, and they're telling very sensitive stories, very human-centric stories, how does AI fit into that? How does it fit into it when they're also asking us to be more and more resourceful with slimmer and slimmer budgets that we've got? There's a real tension there. And for Barnaby and for Auspicious Group, Barnaby, having run one production company, now gets to start again completely anew, and he's not having to adapt the way we had to adapt. He's building something brand new from the start. So how do you marry that creative and the technical? So you will know a lot about what we're going to talk through in this, and that's fine. You can just nod off for a bit. It's nearly lunchtime. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about the realities of running a production company right now, while we're at the steep end of the learning curve still. We're going to talk about what we think is just around the corner and what lies farther down the road. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we see our roles as creative companies evolving over time. We aren't here to evangelise, we're not here to scaremonger about AI, and we're not going to show you another WowWee show reel or tech demo. These are just our opinions, and they're formed from the conversations that we're having between ourselves and with our teams right throughout. We've only got 20 minutes. There's a lot we're not going to be talking about, so let's talk about more later. Okay. First of all, I want to have a quick look beyond the headlines and the LinkedIn thought pieces about how much AI has actually already changed where we're at. Like most of you, we are using it a hell of a lot, but the reality is really mixed. There's some amazing tools, but they feel like they're half finished. I'm sure this is the same for a lot of the companies here. You can see we're using it right the way through the production process. And I think what's been interesting is, for all the talk of fear, filmmakers being stuck in their ways, actually they've been really adaptable, and there's been a real enthusiasm from the majority of the team to see how AI can help them produce. For the most part, for us at least, it's been more about enhancing the sort of more traditional methods of production. But we are using generative AI when we're doing prototyping or previs. Clients are really intrigued about generative AI. That conversation is getting longer and deeper, but they are nervous about copyright, about their perceived authenticity, and about their brand safety. I won't bore you to death with this. There's a reason the writing's so small, because you don't need to worry about it. But my point in this slide is there is a hell of a lot of software, a hell of a lot of platforms, and yes, a lot of expensive subscriptions. And this is probably out of date, because I asked them last week what we were using. It's one of the big issues. Workflows are really still yet to settle. People are using a massive mishmash of projects to get products to get where they need to. And that could be down to personal taste, it could be down to the project requirements, or even the single shot requirements that they're working on. Or it might be that they're experimenting with the latest piece of software that's just come out. There's just not a standardized pipeline. It's really messy. And meanwhile, the technology is moving faster and faster and faster. Again, you don't need to worry too much about the details, but for someone like me who remembers waiting for years for Apple to update Final Cut 7, the idea that we've gone from VO2, which was sort of all right, fine, to VO3, which blew everyone's mind, and then even in the last month, VO 3.1, that's under 6 months, and that is a bananas rapid rate of change. These are all positive steps forward in terms of capability, in terms of usability, efficiency, and hopefully eventually cost effectiveness. It is genuinely exciting, but that does have a cost in terms of your team having to keep up, to constantly be checking what you can and can't do with the individual bits of software, and to check you're not using a tool that's already been surpassed. I actually did a talk similar to this with a client a few weeks ago, worked all day getting the presentation, another day all day getting the presentation, sent the final one, only for our head of production to text me and say, have you just seen that Saw has been released? It's terrifying when these things are moving under your feet all the time. This is in the last 7 days, just some of the headlines that we've seen, announcements about creativity and AI. You've got Adobe giving its entire creative suite an incredibly significant overhaul. You've got OpenAI casually announcing reusable characters in Sora, and yeah, Meta announcing the fact that they've already had 2 billion images and videos created in their Vibes app. That's just in 1 week, and it's not even remotely all of the headlines. This will be taking a toll on your team. It's hard to feel like you've got a grip on reality, let alone make longer term plans. And there are a lot of misconceptions that we, and I'm sure you guys, are having to overcome all of the time. And a lot of them are coming from those exaggerated headlines in the press, and also the promises that the platforms are making them. I think everyone knows that the first one is that AI is the silver bullet, that it gets you to cheap, quick, and quality content. We all know this isn't true. Coca-Cola's new advert last week, I think that they released the Christmas one, you think they'd have learned the lesson. That took over 100 people refining 70,000 AI-generated video clips. That's not quick, and that's not cheap. It doesn't even look that good. So it's something to keep in mind. There's an illusion of scalability. What works for a one-off prompt collapses the moment you need 30 brand-safe cut-downs. It's okay, you can coax a shot out of a model, but building a workflow that holds together when there's 50 stakeholders and hundreds of deliverables, it all falls down. And there's some unintended consequences that I think we're only truly beginning to understand once we're getting past the first 10 or 20 projects that we're doing with AI with our clients. It's changed how we make things faster than we've changed how we work together. Our systems for collaboration need a rethink, both internally and how we work alongside our clients. As mentioned, those workflows are much more individualized, and what that means is, yes, that works for one person, but if that one person steps off a project and you need to, or someone's ill, someone working into a completely personalized workflow, it's really, really difficult. With generative AI, the feedback, rounds of amends, it all kind of falls to pieces. Now, there isn't really an editable version 1 to work from. And then there's the fact that the assets don't really exist in the same way anymore after a project. How many of you have been in the office, you've taken a call from a client who said, oh, actually, we shot that thing last year, let's reuse that footage, let's rework it, repurpose it, get loads of extra value out of it. That's becoming an impossibility if you haven't got a tangible piece of thing that you can work from. Continuity, versioning, and reuse are all incredibly different. Don't get me wrong, these are all surmountable problems, but they are definitely causing friction and frustration internally and externally. And one of the things I'm not entirely sure about how surmountable it is the effect that on our mental health it's having for the team members. The chaos and the instability, the individualized workflows, the devaluing of creative thinking, both in terms of the press and the clients, the fact that novelty, let's be honest, it wears off after you've made your first 50 videos with cows made out of Lego, and actually you're just trying to make a brand look like it should look according to the brand guidelines. It's leading to disillusionment, and I think there's a real threat to any company who wants to succeed right now, because up till now, this industry has been fueled by people who get into creative or production or writing because it's fun. It's hard work, but ultimately it is fun at least some of the time. And I think the best companies will continue to need those best brains, and the best brains aren't going to stick around for long if they're not getting a kick out of what they do. So we've said that things are constantly changing. Well, what do we think is just around the corner? Well, there's going to be continuing improvement, like I've mentioned. You're going to see tool improvements in terms of the quality, stability, consistency, and, in fact, the ways of working. And I think there's going to be a lot of platform consolidation, which makes that collaboration issue less of a problem as things move forward. And we're already seeing that with the way Adobe are putting it through their workflows. There's going to be massive breakthroughs. We're not a million miles off being able to direct Gen AI video in real time. And in the next 1 or 2 years, there's going to be stuff like regulatory and privacy frameworks that will settle. And there's going to be a cultural shift in terms of what audiences are happy to watch and think is still authentic, all of which is going to make clients more comfortable, more able to collaborate, and more enthusiastic to work with AI. But we, as a group, are less convinced that generative AI is going to gobble up and replace real-world production and the need for creatives, at least not in the way that some people I'm talking to seem to fear, or if you're Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman, hope that it might. It's going to have its place, both as an enhancement to traditional production methods and the correct way to create certain types of content where there's a tacit understanding that it's appropriate with the audience, where audiences are less interested in that authentic connection. And listen, there is a massive boom in AI generative slop at the moment. It's real. There's the 2,000 billion trillion things on, but that's still novelty. And that novelty, we think, is going to wear thin when it comes to slop and audiences. Yes, some very, very clever, very, very powerful people are behind it right now, but then Mark Zuckerberg also told us we'd be living in the metaverse by now. I like this quote from LinkedIn's favourite, Rory Sutherland, reacting to a recent behavioural study done by Expedia. They surveyed travellers and found 71% influenced by video versus static images. Okay, so far so good. But when it came to the elements that built trust and what might make them click, number one was transparency, then clarity, confidence, and authenticity. And those are things that we don't think, come from purely AI-generated video. 64% of travellers have noticed AI-generated content. 41% of those people say they prefer it with human input. So human storytelling isn't just nice, it still matters when it comes to that all-important effectiveness. Where we do think there's going to be a big sort of mind-blowing revolution, and some of it is already happening, is less about the visual and more about the structural. We think we're on the cusp of a new world of hyper-personalised and adaptive AI-generated content. Content that's generated on a per-customer basis, automatically adapting its language, tone, visuals and pacing based on location, role and performance. Some of that is already happening, but it's going to get better and it's going to get broader, and brands and organisations are going to start wanting to own their own ecosystems that can adapt and evolve in real time, creating infinitely customised content. MIT recently did a study that said, I think it was an increase of 6 to 9% of effectiveness when people saw personalised AI-generated video ads compared to generic ones, which means it's going to be difficult to ignore. And if you go back to the Expedia survey that I talked about a little while ago, they found content where people saw themselves represented. It was more relatable, more memorable, and 34% said that that messaging made them trust the travel brand more. We know we're going to see it in advertising. Netflix have already said they're going to bring personalised AI-generated ads to their platform in 2026. We're already seeing it in learning and development. I think there's masses of room for it in internal comms, in onboarding, in customer service and solutions. And there's just so many places where you can imagine those content ecosystems making sense. This, by the way, is the greatest diagram you're ever going to see. It took me too long to make something that looks quite bad, but it kind of shows how we see this working. Our team of developers at DBLX would be sick if they saw this, so please no one share it. But it effectively is saying, if you imagine a situation where you've got an international company with thousands of employees all over the world, you can have one internal truth that will then go out to all of those employees, and someone in Sao Paulo watches it, the film greets them in Portuguese, it shows their local office, their regional leadership, their cultural context. In London, employee watches, they see an entirely different video. Not only that, they could say at the start, well, I actually prefer watching things as a talking head, as if anyone's ever said that, or I prefer watching it in an animated explainer. Then at the back end, you can use the sort of behaviour of that audience to influence how future videos are generated, both for them and for the broader team. One film, controllable from a central source, automatically adapting its language, tone and visuals based on location or role or aesthetic or their learning preferences. Better still, it can keep updating over time without the need for a complete overhaul. The possibilities really are incredible. So we think the direction of travel is pretty clear. AI's here, we know, we're using it in the production pipeline all the time. Generative AI videos are going to mature, we're going to use them more, clients are going to get more comfortable with them, and yeah, there's going to be more mainstream adoption, and the personalised adaptive video at global scale, we think there's really going to be a place for that too. So where does that leave us as production companies and creative organisations? We know our role has to evolve as the clients seek to explore all of these possibilities. And if anything, with so many possibilities opening up, our part in their success, there's a big opportunity to become even more important to them. This is how we're thinking about it at Auspicious, in sort of 3 specific channels, but within one relationship to our clients. Firstly, we are going to still want to be and be needed to be filmmakers. There's so many use cases where AI generated or hyper-personalised content either doesn't make sense or it wouldn't be effective. We've just finished making a suite of films for Dementia UK, the sort of films which will make you cry. I don't see that sort of content being generated by an algorithm anytime soon. And sometimes, I think you all know, it's just more economical to get out there and film to get hours of footage in a day that, even with significant advances, would take days of dreary, hi Jane, prompting to approximate. Secondly, this middle sector, we think our sort of role as guides is going to be extra important, especially with all the noise and the hype. The fact that we've got taste, we've got empathy, that we can just about tell a joke, that we can find value in a mistake, that we can see through some of the nonsense that the platforms are peddling, we're going to be using those innate skills to help them understand where does generative AI fit in with their content, because it will work in some places and some it won't. How will personalisation enhance, or when will it alienate instead? But we need to go further than that. This is the bit I find a bit scary, because we're from a sort of traditional production company, but joining Auspicious makes loads of sense, because we're going to have to guide our clients through the structural side of this revolution, helping them design the new infrastructure required to manage all of that complexity. As I say, that's the thinking behind Auspicious right now. That's why we're going to clients not just with brilliant content creators, if I do say so, but with incredible developers as well. And that's where DBLX come in. They're not just developers, they're not just digital, they've got a track record of building adaptive learning and communication platforms that make the content dynamic and intelligent and, all importantly, secure. And they're already doing that for people like Netflix and Santander. It means we can go and have those conversations with clients and talk about massive things like large-scale adaptive storytelling and how to make it work. Okay, I've nearly finished talking. For those of us running creative companies, I think the real test isn't whether AI can make good or believable content. I think we know that the answer is it is going to get there probably quite fast. We think it's whether we can shape the cultures and the systems, both on our side and on the client side, that evolve as quickly as the tools do. It's to design an environment in which the tools and the people and the ideas can keep evolving in some sort of harmony. And that's a leadership challenge and not a technical one. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Thom. Do we have any questions from the audience? I'm sure we do. Again, if you can say who you are, which organisation you're with, and then ask away.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm from Nova Nessus. I'm interested in hearing more about the conversations you're having with your clients around copyright and the legal aspect of things. Can you shed more light on that, and maybe also like what role you think your company will take in guiding them in the future?
I mean, that's the conversation which there is still a lot of nervousness around, and rightly so. I think the answer to that comes with some of the platform consolidation that you're seeing at the moment, and answers that are coming from Adobe in their latest release. They've got the new soundtracks which will sort of generate automatically. And the important part of the headline, which nobody sort of paid too much attention to, was the fact that they are commercially safe to use. You're seeing the same with what Getty are doing as well. And I think once we have those platforms that have got decades of experience with that sort of IP management and licensing, I think that's going to be how that stuff consolidates a bit. But in honesty, beyond that, and it's way above my pay grade, I think it's going to be a question that comes back to government regulation. And what we're seeing at the moment is a willingness on the governments to say, we'll lean on the side of we're going to make this okay to do and we're not going to prosecute at the back end of it. So I don't have a clear answer for you, but those are the sort of senses that we get at the moment.
Okay, any more questions here? Yeah. While I'm walking along, I'm just going to tell you the first people to hear this. We're actually going to be also holding a conference on AI next year and launching a new awards event, but more to follow.
Hi, I'm Tina from Volcrail. My question kind of leads on from that one, and that's as we are and the world is moving slightly towards more AI-generated content, Are you seeing any pushback from any of the analytical data based within social media platforms, websites and things like that, where the likes of Google and other platforms have actually started to reject certain content that is deemed more AI than it is real?
The answer, in honesty, is no. We're not deep enough in yet to have those sort of insights. And as I was saying at the top, in honesty, we're right at the start of the journey when it comes to generative AI, mostly because our clients are still really nervous about using it. And some are putting frameworks in place which make total sense in terms of saying no humans, no animals depicted. Some are much more loosey-goosey, but certainly the bigger organisations, the ones who would have that sort of data, the ones that we're working with, they're not getting that feedback just yet.
Any further questions? Here we go. We'll make this the...
really should have dragged Barnaby back up for the questions, but...
Hi, Phil Horbury from Emperor. Just with your question, your point around generative AI individually at scale that's coming, given that film is really about community and cohesiveness, and everyone gathering around one proverbial campfire and sharing one thing, is that not a huge endemic risk to that point? And that's a very esoteric kind of thing to say, but my worry is that if everyone has an individual thing and their own version of, given it is a true north, one idea, what does that do to the idea of cohesive community around a film or a one story if it's told in so many different ways, I guess?
I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, there's 100%. There are bits of content where it would turn you off so quickly if you felt like it wasn't the same truth that your friends or loved ones were seeing, or your work colleagues. There's the water cooler moment. That's what you want, and I think that's why I'm confident running a production company that doesn't have a place everywhere. That it's going to be a mixed bag. But there are things where I think if you're looking at an onboarding video, or if I'm looking at let's say in a learning situation, my daughter who's 11 years old being delivered the same piece of content, who learns extremely differently to her friend who sits next to her at school, that doesn't make sense. And I don't think you need a shared truth at the top of it in terms of the information that's getting delivered. But if someone learns verbally and someone learns visually, there's a really big opportunity to go, well, okay, AI, work out how this person's going to hear it. And it's not just about the sort of type of films, it'll be about the speed the film's coming, how verbose the conversation is. So, and I think that would be the same when it comes to customer service or indeed onboarding or something like that.
Okay, fantastic. You're going to be around at lunchtime, aren't you?
I'm running for the
next
hills.
break. You're here
I'll
for the
be
whole
here.
day. So any more questions? Sorry. Any more questions? Thom, Barnaby, thank you very much.
Thank you.